Have you ever stopped to think about how a lobster grows? It's actually a pretty amazing story, and it's got a lot to teach us about life. You know, lobsters are soft, squishy creatures that live inside these hard, rigid shells. But here's the thing, those shells don't grow. So, how does a lobster get bigger? Well, as the lobster grows inside its shell, it starts to feel cramped. It feels pressure. It feels stressed. Imagine being stuck in clothes that are way too tight. That's what it's like for a lobster. It's not a comfortable feeling. So, what does the lobster do? It doesn't just sit there and complain. It takes action. It finds a safe place, usually under a rock, where it can be protected. Then, it does something incredible. It sheds its old shell. It literally crawls out of its own skin and starts growing a brand new one that fits its bigger size. Now, here's where it gets interesting. We often think of stress as something bad, something to avoid. But the lobster shows us that stress isn't always a negative thing. It's how we respond to stress that really matters. The lobster didn't try to force itself to fit into a shell that was too small. It recognized that it needed to change, it needed to grow. And that's a powerful lesson for us. How many times do we try to stay in situations that are uncomfortable, that are holding us back? We might stay in a job we hate, a relationship that's toxic, or a mindset that's limiting us. We're afraid of change, afraid of the unknown. We're afraid of what might happen if we step outside our comfort zone. But the lobster teaches us that sometimes the only way to grow is to shed our old shells. It might be scary, it might be uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Just like the lobster is vulnerable to predators after shedding its shell, we might feel vulnerable when we make big changes in our lives. We might feel exposed, unsure of ourselves. But the lobster knows that the only way to get bigger, stronger, and more resilient is to take that risk. It understands that temporary vulnerability is the price of long-term growth. Think about it. Recognizing discomfort, the lobster felt the pressure and didn't ignore it. Do we ignore the signals our bodies and minds give us? Seeking safety, it found a safe place to molt. Do we create safe spaces for ourselves during times of change? Embracing vulnerability, it shed its old shell, knowing it would be exposed. Are we willing to be vulnerable to grow? Growth through change. The lobster understood that growth requires change. Do we resist change or embrace it as an opportunity? We all have these shells in our lives. They might be our comfort zones, our limiting beliefs, our fear of failure. But if we're willing to take that leap, to shed those old shells, we can unlock our full potential. So, the next time you feel stressed, the next time you feel like you're being held back, remember the lobster. Remember that change, even when it's uncomfortable, is a natural part of growth. And remember that you have the strength to shed your old shells and create a better, more fulfilling life for yourself. You just have to be willing to take that first step to crawl out from under that rock and embrace the unknown. Before we go, remember Nietzsche's powerful words, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger." Please share this video to inspire others. Subscribe and hit the notification bell for daily inspiration.